Okay, there's going to be another Dublin against Kildare Leinster Football semi-final. Kildare snuck past Westmeath in the end, but in the second game, Paddy Andrews, Dublin, for a half at least, were back to their brilliant best, it looked like, against Meath.
Yeah, look, it was very impressive from Dublin again. They've kicked on from 2 weeks ago in Wexford Park. I mean, they had 30 shots, they scored 28 of them, 2 wides, 1 for Brian Fenton, 1 for Cormac Costello. Really, really efficient. It was Dublin back to what we kind of associated with them over the last 4 or 5 years, and they were dominant. They were so ruthless, shut down Meath all over the pitch, and were really slick up front. That cohesion is back in their attack. I thought their half-back line was excellent today. James McCarthy, Brian Howard and John Small gave them the platform. For Meath, back to the drawing board now. I'm sure they're going to be frustrated after that defeat, but for Dublin it's onwards and upwards, and it should be a great Leinster final.
I was just chatting to Andy McEntee, and he's struggling to put his finger on why exactly there was such a gulf between them in the first half. Is it simply because maybe we got our expectations up about Dublin last year not being at that level, and last year was just simply well below the level that they can really get to?
Yeah, well, look, there's always a lot of focus on Dublin, particularly when after last season and obviously getting relegated in the spring, and there's no two ways about it. Dublin were poor in the spring. They're very porous defensively, and they weren't clicking up front. They were missing players through injury and things like that, but Dublin there was question marks over them, and there still is. But in terms of what we've seen today, their 2 championship games today, they've been so efficient up front. Conor O'Callaghan coming back, even though he was quiet today, gives Dublin a real focal point in attack. Kieran Kilkenny's back to his best, scoring 5 points from play today. And they're just their speed, their attacking game plan, and their physicality in defence. They really shut down the Meath forward line. So positive for them. But for Meath, into the qualifiers now, Jordan Morris with a red card at the end as well. He's probably the most dangerous forward. He's going to be missing in that game as well, just a lack of discipline at the end. So a frustrating day for Andy McEntee, Meath, no doubt.
Dublin conceded only 4 points last week, or 2 weeks ago, against Wexford, and that kind of, to me, was one of the more important statistics, because defensively that's where the questions were. Did you see a similar level of defensive prowess from Dublin today? Yeah,
they'll be frustrated with the penalty at the end, Michael Fitzsimons, because they would have wanted to keep a clean sheet. But Evan Comerford back in goal is a big plus. He gives that calmness to defence. His kick-outs were excellent as well. But Johnny Cooper coming on and getting another 20 minutes at the end of the game, just to kind of steady the ship and just brings that calmness and organisation. But it was impressive defensively from them. They're going to get a bigger test, obviously, against Kildare. Jimmy Hyland, Derek Irwin was excellent for Kildare today. Daniel Flynn, they'll ask question marks at that Dublin backline. But today, I thought John Small did brilliantly, and Cillian O'Sullivan substituted without scoring. Michael Fitzsimons won his battle with Jordan Morris as well. So, and James McCarthy was back to his imperious best as well. So it was good from Dublin today, but they'll be tested a little bit more in 2 weeks' time.
How does James McCarthy still keep doing this? There's been absolutely zero drop off from him.
Unbelievable. He was brilliant today. He got up and kicked 2 scores as well. That's like he came back late in the season, and he's a lot of miles on the clock. I think this is probably his 12th or 13th season with Dublin, so there was no real need for him to be playing in the spring. Just let him ease his way into the season, and you're seeing the benefits of that now for Desi Farrell and for James himself. He was brilliant today, and he'll be to the fore for Dublin in 2 weeks' time as well.
What about that Dublin bench? Is there still a concern about the depth?
Well, look, Niall Scully came on for 20 minutes today. Johnny Cooper as well. Paddy Small, who was kind of Dublin need that depth coming in from their bench, and Paddy Small was absolutely injured, missed a lot of the National League as well. So for those 3 guys to get back in, I think they're going to be really pushing to start the next day. Davy Byrne, Robbie McDade are out injured. They're still to come back. So Dublin, they're in a strong position. They didn't pick up any other knocks today, so those 3 guys coming in off the bench today will be a positive, and then hopefully Robbie McDade and Davy Byrne can give more options as well in a couple of weeks' time.
I get the sense that you're not willing to put Dublin into the same category as Kerry just yet. Am I summing you up wrong there? It feels like you're holding back just a little bit on. You want to see them against a better team, I sense here.
Yeah, it's hard to get a read on them. Look, all we can go on is what we've seen from the season today, not just the last couple of weeks. And Kerry have been the standout team. They were dominant in the National League. They didn't set the world on fire against Cork in their game, but they did exactly what they needed to do. They're still the team to catch, the team to beat. For Dublin, it's definitely improvements from what we've seen in the National League, but it is hard to get a read because they played a Division 4 team and then a poor Meath team today. You'll start getting, I think you get a lot more answers in 2 weeks' time. Kildare will give a real test to that Dublin team. If they come through that with a performance like today, then you're definitely talking about them being right in the mix for All-Ireland honours. But what we've seen today, solid defensively again, and that efficiency up front. 28 scores out of 30 shots. That's some of the best shooting we've seen in the championship to date. So there's absolutely still a force, but overall Kerry are probably rightly still favourites for the overall.
When it comes to this Leinster final then, I think everybody came here today expecting Kildare and Dublin to win quite handsomely. Kildare though, it was only 3 points in the end. What do you put that down to? Because it did seem that a lot of the game they were in control, but not in control, if that makes any sense. Like Westmeath were always looking like they could carve them open at any moment. Yeah,
Kildare probably cruised through that game, to be fair. But the question mark over Kildare and what they're going to have to look at, Glenn Ryan and his management team, they've conceded 2-15 today. As good, we know Kildare can score. Derek Irwin, I think 5 or 6 points today. Jimmy Hyland, Daniel Flynn, these guys are going to be able to score. At the back, they will need to tighten that up. Particularly, you see Dublin kicking into gear, Conor O'Callaghan coming back. That was the question marks around Kildare. They only scored 1 point in the last quarter. Even though they were in control of the game, they were always going to win it. They were comfortable. Probably didn't really get out of third gear, but they will definitely be looking to tighten up that defence, because conceding 2-15 to a Westmeath team that look, they're a Division 3 team, and I think that showed today. But Kildare, look, it's a positive win for them. They're back in a Leinster final, and they have that bit of momentum behind it. But there will be question marks over Kildare as well, and definitely areas they'll be looking at to improve in the Leinster final.
Are you worried at all as a Dub about what that full forward line for Kildare could expose the next day?
Yeah, of course. That's, like I say, it's a step up again. But they're the questions Dublin are going to have to answer. You know, in the National League, there's no two ways about it. Defensively, they were quite poor. They know that themselves. You can see they've clearly worked on it. They've got their personnel back as well, and it is going to be a test. If they can tie it up, if Mick Fitzsimons and Lee Gannon and Johnny Cooper and these guys can get a handle on that Kildare full forward line, Dublin will win the Leinster final. But that's a key battleground in that game, and it's a big test. But like I say, I thought their half-back line today for Dublin was excellent and gave that protection to Mick Fitzsimons and the guys in the full back line. So look, I think it's going to be a fascinating game. It's a Leinster final everyone was hoping for. We got about 38,000 here today. It wasn't a great atmosphere around it, but I expect a big crowd in 2 weeks' time for that Leinster final. Look, I think it'll be a great game.
A couple of words on the losers today then. Meath, first of all, like, it does seem it's rinse and repeat a little bit when they come here to play Dublin at the moment, and then today I think probably exposes them as a team that maybe aren't actually going anywhere at the moment.
Look, it seems to have stalled. There's no two ways about it. Like I said, they put it up to Dublin, I suppose, in last year's semi-final. They didn't get promoted out of Division 2, and to be honest, they didn't really look like getting promoted. There was a clear gulf with Derry, Galway and Roscommon in Division 2 to the rest. So they're kind of stagnating. You're hoping that they get a big performance in the championship here today, and they didn't get that at all. Second half, look, there was a bit of fight about them in the second half, as you would have expected with an Andy McEnany team, but they're going to be right up against it in the qualifiers. Particularly, I think, the frustrating thing for them, Jordan Morris, their best forward, really, he's going to miss whoever he's going to be suspended for that game in the qualifiers. It's an uphill task for me. There's no real positives you can take out of that game, and that's the disappointing thing for the Meath supporters.
And then Jack Cooney, the Westmeath manager, was talking about how his players, or he expects them to all be around for the Tailteann Cup, and how he's excited for the Tailteann Cup and it's something that they can use to build on. These are the sort of messages we want to be hearing, right? Do you think that that's going to be something that prevails throughout these next few weeks as this new Tier 2 competition gets up and running?
Well, I hope so. Like, it hasn't got off to a great start with basically GA changing the rules on it and dividing into north and south sections. I think it should be an open draw, but what you need the teams in it to take it seriously. You don't want guys, look, Down are obviously struggling, lots of guys are leaving their panel, they're not going to be at full strength, but you want the teams that are competing in that to take it seriously, and you'll see the benefits of it. Westmeath will go into that, they will be right in the mix to win that. They'll be favourites along with, I would say, probably Cavan and Tipperary. I would say the three top teams in that competition, but what you're hoping for is that kind of communication from managers and players, that they're ready for it, that they're excited to play it, and that they want to play it, and just hope that the GAA structure it right, and it gets the promotion and it gets the time and the airtime it deserves, because it could be a brilliant competition for some of those teams. And a team like Westmeath, like say with Jack Cooney, that's great messaging to hear that they're going to be right up for it, and they could go really far in that competition.
Yeah, absolutely. The Seagulls descending here in Croke Park. Not been a vintage day at headquarters, but it has finished where it's going to be a Dublin versus Kildare Leinster final for the second running year. Paddy Andrews, great stuff. Thanks a million.
Thanks, on.